is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This is episode number 517. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the bed in the hotel room here in Richmond, Virginia at Mythic Championship VI, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, dare I ask how you're doing?
Yeah, I just went 10-6 at the Mythic Championship, which is not a bad finish all told. I started 4-4 and went 6-2 on day 2, but I'm in competition to make top four of non-MPL players challengers for a World slot and an MPL slot, which is huge. That's like the two biggest current prizes in Magic, and based on my finish, it's not looking particularly likely. So I'm pretty bummed.
Yeah, that's a super rough one. It's a weird confluence of events that leads to this level of stakes happening, right? Like normally throughout your career, things are much flatter, but given the changes that have happened and the fact that Worlds has $1 million prize pool total, etc., it created this very strange situation where the incentives got kind of crazy high.
Yeah, normally it would be like if we looked at the last, 5 years or whatever. If you do really well, you make it to Worlds. If you miss that, you're Platinum. And if you miss Platinum, you're Gold. So it's kind of like a graduated scale with fairly big jumps in between. Mm-hmm. Here, it's like Worlds quadrupled in prize pools, and so it's worth way more. And MPL is worth 5 times as much as Platinum. And if I miss them, it's like a huge cliff, and I don't basically get anything.
Right.
So,
well, I'm sorry, man. I was obviously rooting for you. And of course, all of our listeners were as well.
Statistically,
really
it's not likely that all of them were. I believe most of them were.
Thank you for that hard
for
correction.
all you ambivalent listeners out there, keep doing your thing.
Yeah, the ones that were just like,
I don't like the ones that are actively rooting against me, of which there have to be some.
There's probably a few. Well, I'll tell you, I was rooting for you.
No, it's all good. Like, I don't feel
I know
good
you're
about
okay
it,
in life, but still, this is a big part of your life.
Look, it's a double-edged sword, and this is important. I care about this. It's good to care about things. It's good to be passionate about things. The drawback of caring about something is when you don't get there, then you do feel disappointed, which is also okay. So
that's right.
I would much rather care about things and be disappointed and feel that than just not care about anything or pretend I don't care about anything. But I did care about this, and I don't know. Might still make it. I guess it's possible. I don't really know exactly how it works, but it's not looking like I'm in very good shape.
Okay. Well, given the proximity to when these things happened, I have a lot of respect for that perspective. That is very impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So what we're going to be talking about on the show is we've got a couple of things here. We are going to talk about the testing that you did. You tested with a team. Or you got feedback and stuff from a team, and then also I just want to hear how your drafts went at the Mythic Championship, and so we'll get that perspective from you. Before we do, though, we got to talk about our sponsor, ChannelFireball.com. Make sure you check out their newsletter. There's actually 3 different newsletters that you can get from Channel Fireball, and they're great. It's like a little bit of extra content that comes to your mailbox every week. And you can go to channelfireball.com/newsletter to sign up for those. And it's nice. It's just gives you 3 checkboxes. You can pick 1, 2, or all 3, whatever you like. One of them is modern. One of them is commander. And one of them is a little more general Magic, maybe with a slant towards standard. And that one's written by you, Luis. The modern one's Matt Ness. And then the Raging Levine, Eric Levine, writes the commander one.
Though I suspect you'll be seeing a combination of modern and pioneer content from Matt Nass's newsletter, though also from mine, to be honest. I think Pioneer's a lot of fun, so we've been kind of diving into that.
Okay, yeah, and of course that's been a content machine, given the fact that they've announced these like more regular bannings, so it's really a moving target right now, and something that people are excited about. So channelfireball.com/newsletter for that, and while you're there, you can check out the free content on the front of the site, and of course, singles, supplies, anything that you need to fill out your commander deck, your standard deck, your pioneer deck. You're going to find it at channelfireball.com. If you want to support the show directly, you can do so via the Patreon. That's patreon.com/limited resources. And you can go on there to check out what you get for it and how it works. It's very straightforward. And it's a great place to go to support the content creators that help make your week a little bit better. And if we are one of those, patreon.com/limited resources. So, Luis, I forgot to bring an actual pack with me, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up a virtual pack on Arena here, and we are in All right. Our first card is Hengewalker. So filler city.
Certainly a passable card, though.
It is, yeah. And, it actually ends up serving a pretty important role in the monocolor decks because you are very often short playables, or at least on that uncomfortable end of playables, and a Hengewalker is like fine. You're quite happy to have a couple of those.
It has additional utility in the blue decks as well because they care about having an artifact in play.
Oh yeah, so for sure.
Hengewalker helps there.
Yeah, and it's an artifact that actually affects the board, meaningfully. There's also Tuinvale Treefolk. That's the 5 and a green 6/5. It's got Oaken Boon as its adventure. You put 2+1/+1 counters on a creature. This is the high risk, but actually pretty high reward as well. Adventure, right? It's 4 mana, sorcery speed. If your creature gets messed with, then you lose all of it. But if it hits, the 2 counters really do matter. They can swing combat in your favor, and the 6/5 is actually quite good too.
Yeah, I don't like the Tuinvale Treefolk all that much, but I do end up playing it a good amount of the time.
And it does, though, embarrass Tall as a Beanstalk, which is the 3 and a green aura. Enchants a creature. The creature gets +3/+3, reach, and is a giant. Tuinvale Treefolk's way better than that.
It is, though. I like Tall as a Beanstalk as a sideboard card. I have liked it against
blue-black, yeah.
Yeah. I've liked it against mono-red and mono-green specifically.
Okay.
Or
green-red.
Or some combination of those colors. Yeah. Basically, people who don't have actual removal or all the removals based on the toughness of your creature, because Tall as a Beanstalk can make your creature pretty big. If you put this on a Fierce Witchstalker on turn 5 against like a red deck, like they're just going to be dead to it.
Yeah, 7/7, they're just not dealing with that.
It also has a really, really niche corner case, which you can think about, which is when you play against someone who has a Realm Cloaked Giant. Tall as a Beanstalk is an excellent sideboard card because they will let you overextend and planning on casting Wrath, and you go, play this on my biggest creature, and then next turn if they destroy all non-giant creatures, that creature kills them.
That is awesome. I never thought of that, nor have I seen it. Constructed All-Star, Weaselback Redcap is next. That's the red 1/1. You can pay 1 in a red to give it +2/+0. Its best redeeming quality is that it's a knight.
It's good in mono red. I almost always play 1 or 2 in the mono red decks because you kind of get them for free because no one really wants them, and they're a good way to kind of have a mana sink because these decks tend to flood out.
Yeah, and it is interesting because if they're playing a bunch of walls, it does well, and if you do put 6 mana into it and they don't block it, it's like, well,
you can end up in a spot where they are forced to trade like a 4/4 into it. And sometimes if you're on I've had this come up where you have like a Brimstone Trebuchet, you're pinging them down, and you have this on defense, it can trade for a 4/4. And that's even better because you don't have to like block a 2/2. You can wait and try to block a 4/4 or a 5/5.
I like it. Knight's Trebuchet Control. Taste it. Blow your house down. No, we're not going to play that one. Reaper of Night, card we've come up on quite a bit. That's the 4/5 that gets flying, blah, 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 blah. It gets 2 cards out of their hand.
This card's really important in the control matchups or in the mid-range matchups. Less good against aggro. In fact, often you're going to want to side it out there.
Yeah. Barrow Witches?
This is fine. This is a 3/4 that gets a knight back. It's not my preferred 5-drop, but Barrow Witches and like Prized Griffin kind of compete in black-white knights for spots. They're not a priority because it kind of doesn't matter which 5-drop you have. You just want 1 or 2.
Here's a card I know you like, Silverflame Squire.
Yeah, Silverflame Squire is good. This is the Adventure Pump spell. That's also a 2/1. It's solid. You'll play as many of these you can get in your aggro decks.
Your mic's rubbing. There you go. Speaking of Silver Flames, there's a Silver Flame Ritual here as well. That's the 3 and a white sorcery. You get to +1/+1 counter on everything. If you adamant it, they get Vigilance as well.
Yeah, one of the cool things about this format is that there's a bunch of cards like, Weaselback Redcap or Silverflame Ritual, which you want specifically in some decks, but most decks don't want them. And that's what makes a format interesting because it means that this is literal 15th pick garbage for most decks.
Yeah.
But some decks are like, wow, I would love to have one of these. In this case, it's the like 16 or 17 plus creature white aggressive decks that really want a Silverflame Ritual.
Speaking of last pick garbage, we've got Inquisitive Puppet as our first uncommon.
Yeah.
It is a 1 mana 0/2 that scries 1 in ETBs, scries 1 when it ETBs, and you can exile it to make a 1/1 human. I just have never found a use for it. Like, what is
this card's just straight up garbage.
Okay. The next card is not, and it's going to be tough to compete with this one. It's Sir Conrad the Grim. which for my money is the best of that cycle and one of the best uncommons in the set.
Oh, definitely. Not only is that a 5-mana 5/4, it also says whenever a creature goes anywhere, from anywhere, your opponent loses a life.
Yep.
And if the board ever stalls out, or you just need to push a few more damage through, you can pay 2 and just mill each player for 1.
Yeah, it's a must deal with threat.
Oh, Sir Conrad's excellent, so I would certainly have an eye on Sir Conrad here.
Yeah, next is another good card, Archon of Absolution. That's the 3 and a white, 3/2 flying Archon with pro white, protection from white. And creatures can't attack you or planeswalker you control unless their controller pays a mana. I would take Sir Conrad over it, but that card's good. Like, that card has performed very well.
This is so far probably the second best card in the pack.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Conrad is, I think, clearly above, but Archon of Absolution, sometimes, I mean, you play against Mono White, for example, which I did today in the Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
My opponent couldn't beat this card. I didn't draw it, but they couldn't have beaten it if I did.
Uh-huh. You didn't need it either. Our rare, also a white flyer, it's Hushbringer. 1 and a white for a 1/2 flying lifelinker. And the fun police here. Creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cause abilities to trigger.
I like Hushbringer quite a bit.
Do you really?
It is the third best card in this pack. I would take it over all the commons.
Okay, explain yourself.
Not all the commons
I did
in the
not
set,
expect you to say that. I have not a ton of experience with it, but I found it to be meh.
It's good. It always pecks in for a 2-point life swing. So 2 mana, 2-point life swing per turn, right? Because you're gaining 1, losing 1. That's pretty good.
That is.
And the white decks basically don't have almost anything that this impacts, whereas the other decks
all on adventure.
The other decks tend to do it. It does not interact negatively with adventure at all.
I see.
It turns off like Moonlit Scavengers from blue, Fierce Witchstalker from green. Like, I've had very good experience with Hushbringer, and our team actually had it fairly high up. I mean, again, it's worse than Bacon to a Pie or Scorching Dragonfire or any of those cards, but it's better than Silverflame Squire. It's better than Reaper of Night, any of these like kind of mid-range cards.
Okay, but we're both on Sir Conrad here, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I love Sir Conrad. Okay, so that's our Crack-A-Pack. Now, how do you want to do this? Because the things that I want to hear about from you are, I want to get the testing insider to get an idea for how testing went or what the opinions were. But I also want to hear about your drafts, like, how the cards actually were flowing at the MC.
I think the most useful ways to break it down is start from the monocolor of each color and then look at where this color goes. Because this is how I just approach Throne of Eldraine draft overall.
Okay.
And this is, after testing, of course, talking with the team, but not everyone ended up on the complete same page, which is totally fine. So
which, by the way, is common in this format.
Yes.
A lot of the pros were all over the map.
I mean, I talked with someone from another testing team who was like, oh yeah, red and white are the 2 worst colors. And I'm just like, no, I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, because you've been drafting a lot of red and white. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, I think that one of my favorite colors to start with is green. So because green is a very strong monocolor, and this is the green aggro deck with Wildwood Tracker, Rosethorn Halberd, Gingerbrute. Of course, Fierce Witchstalker is excellent in the deck. It can sometimes have an adventure sub-theme if it gets Edgewall Innkeeper, but for the most part, you're looking to curve out and play 1 mana 2/2s and I hate to say it, but Rancor, Rosethorn Halberd. It's a bit of an exaggeration. For those of you who haven't played, a million years ago, which is most of you, Rancor is a 1 mana enchantment for a green, gives the creature +2/+0 and trample, and then when the creature dies, you get Rancor back to your hand.
Yeah.
So Rosethorn Halberd's not quite as good, but I mean, seriously,
quite as good.
If you play turn 1 Wildwood Tracker, turn 2 a second Tracker, and a Rosethorn Halberd, like, you're attacking your opponent with a 4/3 on turn 2. And you've got another 2/2 in play. And then if you have a pump spell or an out muscle or something, they're probably just dead.
Yeah, I remember, when we exchanged deck lists on our chat and stuff like that, I mean, you've had some 5 Wildwood Tracker decks or whatever.
Literally no one wants them.
Yeah.
It does not, first of all, it doesn't look like a good card. Second of all, in most decks, it isn't a good card.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say Merrily Frighter also very important.
Sure.
And here's the Mondo combo. Play Merrily Frighter on turn 2 or whatever. Use Curious Pair or maybe a turn 4 Fierce Witchstalker to make a food. Then you're like, out muscle, kill your 4/4 by fighting. My creature's indestructible. Sack a food, attack. Now your other creature has to block it.
Oh, that is devastating.
And
wow. And you get left with
And you're left with a 4/2 Merrily Frighter. It's not that hard to string that together.
That's a nasty 2-for-1.
Yeah. Or it could be a 3-for-1 because if you have multiple food, you can make multiple creatures block.
Oh.
I mean,
they have to have low toughness.
Of course, you have to have low toughness, but it works out very nicely. It also really leverages pump spells. And I think that's one of the keys to this format overall is that the pump spells are actually very pushed. The fact that they're mostly on adventure creatures means that they are intrinsically card advantage and they're aggressively costed even within that. So that is part of the reason I think aggro is so strong is it normally is like, well, pump spells are kind of mediocre. You can, use your turn, but it sets you up for high risk or whatever. And it's ultimately a 1-for-1. Well, here, if you attack with a Youthful Knight and they block the 3/3 and you're like, well, play my Rimrock Knight, give it +2/+0, kill your guy, play that Rimrock Knight. It's turn 3, you have 2 creatures in play, and I killed your creature.
Yeah.
Rimrock Knight acts as a Flametongue Kavu, acts as, a Ravenous Chupacabra. And that's really important, and it's true in the green decks too. Even though it's not like Garenbrig Carver is the best card in the world, but when you Garenbrig Carver, like when you alpha, an early Wildwood tracker, you did get card advantage there, and you did push through some good damage.
Yeah, it feels like when they designed the cards, one of the safe places that they landed was combat trick. Like, what should we make these adventures, right? And you could tell that they went through the list. Hey, we could do like a rampant growth style one, and they made that. Yeah. And you can kind of go through and see a lot of these. But for the bread and butter commons, you can definitely tell that they felt safe with doing combat tricks for the adventures because there's a bunch of them, right? That are combat. There's 3 commons.
Yeah, there's Silverflame Squire, Rimrock Knight, Garenbrig Carver.
Yeah,
and it's no coincidence that the shock and murder cards are rares.
Yes.
Because that would have been a lot. Right?
That would have been too much.
Yeah.
And so when you get to the lower rarities, you do have to figure out something that's relevant, but that it's not too good. And it seems to be combat tricks. The thing that's interesting is, just as combat tricks, these aren't so far off of what you would expect to pay in a random set.
Yeah.
Right? If you told me there's, red +2/+0, I'd be like, that's pretty unexciting. I would expect something else tacked onto it, but it's not out, it's not like horrendous. It's not 4 mana for +2/+0, which you would just never even touch, right? Yeah. And it's the same thing with Silverflame Squire. Like, I'd probably pay 1 mana less and be okay with untap a dude +2/+2, and Carver, again, 1 mana +2/+2. Okay, well, you tack on an extra mana. It's not out of the league, right? Yeah. And then you get a creature. Like, you're just spotting me an entire creature for that extra 1 mana. It's pretty good.
It is. And that, cost efficiency is why I like these decks that are trying to pressure your opponent into blocking early, because it lets you kind of get the initiative there.
Sure.
So in terms of pick orders for green, Fierce Witchstalker is clearly the best, followed by Outmuscle, followed by Merrily Rider, then Wildwood Tracker, and then the Halberd. Rosethorn Acolyte, the 2/3 for 3 that taps for mana, certainly goes up in value once you have an Edgewalling Keeper. Once you're in multiple colors, like that can go up in value. But
we saw Sundering Stroke splashed, and the players taking those higher. Yeah,
that kind of stuff. But you're trying to be aggressive. 2 Unveiled Tree Folk is fine. The Garenbrig Carver's fine. Like these are both cards you want as well. But it's mainly just that curve is what you're looking for, without muscle to kind of bolster it. And one of the reasons I like green so much as well is that it pairs nicely. So I like red-green.
You do like red-green.
Red-green as a kind of aggressive color with either potentially an adventure theme or just a non-human theme, like Red Cap Raiders and Rimrock Knight and Wildwood Tracker.
Where are you at on Garenbrig Paladin, the 5-drop?
Oh, I like Garenbrig Paladin quite a bit.
Yeah, that thing gets through a lot of really amazing.
I think that Garenbrig Paladin probably is just slightly behind Halberd once you're drafting this deck, above. It's also above Rosethorn Acolyte. But 5-drops are also fairly replaceable, so I'm not taking Garenbrig Paladin over most of the cheaper cards.
But it fits in your deck, you're like thumbs up.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you just want 2 in most of your decks. And basically I like green when paired with red or black. The black-green deck is not aggressive. This is the food deck.
The food deck, yeah.
That's often trying to play a control-ish game. Trail of Crumbs, and Bake into a Pie, and these kind of controlling cards. Savvy Hunter, if you can get that at uncommon, where you're leveraging all the food synergies. And this deck, it can play Curious Pair a lot more effectively than the more aggressive versions of the decks.
Right.
Don't like green-white very much. Just the green-white adventure theme, I haven't found that come together all that well. And part of it is that I don't think that white's removal is that great. Trapped in the Tower is just okay. And especially.
But you love a Fairy Godmother. I mean,
Fairy
I've never seen anybody. Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. Here's what's really important about these decks is you don't want to split your 1-drops across 2 colors very much.
Oh, I see.
You would like to be a 10-7 or 11-6 or even 12-5 mana base if you can get away. Mm-hmm. You don't really want like a 9-8 deck that has like Fairy Godmothers and Wildwood Trackers all that much. You can do that. Yeah. It's totally fine to do that. Yeah. But in an ideal world, you're playing 10 to 12 or 17 of your main colors so that you can get those adamant payoffs. Because getting out muscle to be indestructible is huge.
It just turns it into like flat out removal stuff.
Right. The card is good at Hunt the Weak, right? That's like that is the card without the adamant, but it's not like busted, and it makes it a lot worse on your like 1 or 2 toughness creatures than it would be if you need indestructible. Whereas like, Garenbrig Paladin can outmuscle regardless of whether you have adamant or not. Mm-hmm. So I don't like green white that much, and green blue is like quite bad. Like look, all the color combinations are draftable. If you first picked an Oko and second picked a Marrowleaf Pixie, you're going to draft green blue, and that's just not that, most likely. But for the most part, those themes don't intermesh well because the green decks, I think, want to be aggressive a little more, and the blue decks do definitely want to be controlling. Blue's the most controlling color. Mm-hmm. So definitely would like to draft green. It just has a lot going for it. And even though it combines more nicely with as either mono green or the Jund colors, green blue, green red, or green black, it still leads you some good paths there. Oh, that's one thing to note too, is most formats are 10 2-color pairs. This format has 15 because the 5 monos are also supported decks.
Yeah, totally.
So that's definitely something to keep your eye on, that there's more different decks available, which means you have to really nail down what each deck wants.
What's the cross-section of the 4-color hybrids that you get if you are mono green? You get the 5/5, you get the Oakham Ranger. What's the one I'm missing? You get you
get the Snapping Turtle.
The Snapping Turtle.
Yeah, and
then there's one more, right? There should be 4.
Yeah, there's the 4/2 haste Deathless Knight.
Yeah, Deathless Knight. Right. So how do you like those?
So the green hybrids, I like the 5/5 the best. The Rampart Crasher is I think by far the best.
Beatdown.
Followed by the Turtle most of the time. This is the format of 4/4 that if you play a 5-drop, you draw a card. Mm-hmm. Though sometimes Deathless Knight is going to end up being better depending on your deck. And then Oakham Ranger, I think, is a clear last place.
You're kind of off it.
Oakham Ranger's not very good.
Yeah. It looks good on paper, but it does not play as well as it looks.
No. It kind of needs to be like
really
a 2/4
overpaying for the first thing.
Yes, that's part of it too. Yeah. Is the adventure part, the bring back makes 2 1/1s for 4.
Yeah.
It's just not a good
deal.
We're
usually used to paying 2 for that,
Or 3, but it's still not a good deal.
Yeah.
So then moving off of green onto white. And this isn't in like a color order of how good they are, because I think that green and red, I like green and red quite a bit. I like black. I dislike blue. Like, I like blue less than the other colors, but all the colors are fairly close together. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think there's big jumps here, so it's not super useful to say, like, oh, this color is really bad, because I just don't think that's true in this case. Mm-hmm. White is another color that's just, like, kind of centered in aggression. Mm-hmm. Mono white's actually hard to get, because white's not as deep as the other colors.
Yeah, it's really not.
I have found mono white not to be draftable, or at least not easily draftable.
I can't remember seeing mono white.
I played against it today at the last.
Did you?
At 2-0 in my pod. But
we had one on camera that was nearly mono white, but the red splashes were very significant.
Yeah.
It was like Inspiring Veteran, Merriment, stuff like that were like actually key cards. Even though they were like, 12-6 or 12.
I mean, if you end up mono white, you end up with a lot of like unicorns in your deck and stuff like that you don't really, you're not that excited about.
Stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But white is a great support color. The white commons, Ardenvale Tactician, far and away the best. Mm-hmm. I actually like Fairy Godmother over Trapped in the Tower second. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I do have Trapped in the Tower third. You still do need a way to deal with opposing creatures. Followed generally by the Squire. Mm-hmm. And then you can put the other cards, like Youthful Knight, I like a lot. I think Youthful Knight is especially good in red-white because the combo with Rimrock Knight is so good.
Yeah, that is really nasty.
And then if you really need a 5-drop, Prize Griffin is good. The Silver Flame Ritual is fine. Mm-hmm. Ardenvale Paladin is fine too. This is the 4-mana 3/6 or 4-mana 2/5.
If you adamant it. Yeah.
Right. And then I like True Love's Kiss too. I tend to main deck 1 True Love's Kiss in most of my white decks. Okay. Yeah, there's just almost always a target.
Yeah.
And part of the difference between True Love's Kiss and Return to Nature is you get paid off when you play this.
Big time. Yeah, you get the card back too. It's insane.
And one of the things I like about white is that there's, again, multiple good white decks. There's red-white knights, which is almost always just aggressive. Really uses Brimstone Trebuchet well. Ardenvale Tactician to push through those points of damage is awesome. Again, I mentioned the Rimrock Knight, Youthful Knight combo, which is great. Black-white knights is nice because it can be controlling or aggressive. Like you can end up with black-white knights decks that have like 2 Bacon to a Pie, a Bear of Witches, a Foreboding Fruit, and like a decent curve of white knights that can attack, but it's mostly kind of looking to trade off, you leverage its removal, get some card advantage, and win that way. Or you can be the super aggressive deck that really leans on Smitten Swordmaster and it just tries to curve out and then Swordmaster them if he draws it later, or just play it early and use like Bell of the Brawl and like, again, Tactician to push through damage, that sort of thing.
Right.
White-blue is extremely bad, and you should almost at all costs try to avoid it. Like, look, it can be open, and if you get 2 Arcanist Owls, it's fine.
Arcanist Owls is very good. Shine Chaser is medium. I remember when we reviewed it, and I'm like, well, this is a lot like the Vantress Paladin, but harder to cast, a little cheaper, technically speaking. But just like I get Vigilance, like that's my big. Yeah, I have to do all this extra stuff, and my big payoff is my 3/3 has Vigilance now. It's like,
yeah. So white-blue is really, really hard to like. You should probably end up white-blue like 1 out of every 30 drafts or 25 drafts or something. Yikes! Whereas everything else you'd expect to be 1 out of every 14 or something.
Sure.
And then white-green knight I mentioned before, not the best. It can be opened, but it's not exactly where you want to be most of the time. So I really like starting with white cards as well.
Green and white.
Yeah, they're both good. Red is, I think, likely the best monocolor deck, or at least red and green are the 2 best monocolor decks. I think, in fact, if I had to rank monos, it's actually funny because I think blue's the worst color overall, but blue's one of the better monocolor decks.
It is absurd in monocolor.
Yeah. So I think it's probably like green, then red, then blue, then black, and then white last because it's just so hard to get the density of cards you need.
Right.
But yeah, the red monocolor deck is hyper aggressive as you would imagine. This is where you want your Weaselback red cap, as many Rimrock Knights as you can get. Like the pick order for this is Scorching Dragonfire easily first, and then Rimrock Knight. And then it actually kind of gets kind of loose, whereas like you want some amount of Raging Red Caps, the 1/2 double striker, especially with pump spells. 7 Dwarves is actually really good.
If you can get a bunch.
Yeah, but a bunch is like 3. It's actually fine with 3. Like, because the deck just
basically just if you get 2 of them down.
Because the deck wants 2 drops so much. Yeah. Obviously, if you have like 5, it's even better.
Right. Or 7.
Yeah. Brimstone Trebuchet does a very good job of poking through the last points of damage. Oh, I forgot Searing Barrage. Sorry. Searing Barrage is right after Rimrock Knight. It's Scorching Dragonfire, Rimrock Knight, Searing Barrage. Thus, you can put Searing Barrage above Rimrock if you have enough other 2 drops.
Sure.
I just am really allergic to not having enough 2 drops in these decks because
it's critical.
If your opening hand is like Searing Barrage, Scorching Dragonfire, 4-drop, and lands, like it's fine. You're always going to keep that hand, but you really want to get 9 points of damage in with your early creatures.
Yeah, it's funny. Looking at the screenshots that you were sending of the aggressive decks to me, it was like there was this progression where you were like pushing things cheaper. At some point you had like a row of what I would have assumed would have been 2 drops, and they were 1 drops, right? It's like, okay, he's just, and I remember, this is going back to green a little bit, the one where you had a ton of Wildwood Trackers.
I know 5 of them or this something? Is the deck I drafted on the plane on the way here. Yeah. Where I had 6 Wildwood Trackers and like 2 Halberds and 2 Gingerbrutes.
Right. And I was like, I wanted to know how it went. And you said
my deck cost 1.
Great. Yeah. And, but sometimes there's formats where you get those decks and you think it's going to be great. And then somebody's like, here's a 2/3. And you're like, oh, crap. But you said it worked out really well.
This was a weird deck. It had 4 Scorching Dragonfires also.
Yeah. Did.
One of the things that I wanted to mention about playing mono green or mono red especially is you can play like 15, 16 lands.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because you're not getting color screwed. So you can, if your curve's low, you can play 15 lands. The reason we play 17 lands in our 2-color decks is because you need 8 or 9 sources.
Yes.
It's not because you actually need 17 lands that tap for mana.
No, it would be probably more like 16 that we would prefer. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because the right numbers are probably in between whole numbers, but obviously we don't get that particular choice. And then, like you said, if your curve's low, you can go to 15 and it's just you're still going to face the same things about, do I have enough? But.
So mono red is pretty curve centric. You know, like what's better, and it's also like context dependent. Where like Brimstone Trebuchet, Red Cap Raiders, and Raging Red Cap are all in the same ballpark. They're all like, you know, I've taken all these cards over the other versions of them. I think
depending on what you have.
Depending on what you have. If you have more pump spells, the double striker is more important. If you have more knights, you want the trebuchet. And if you have not enough pump spells and a decent amount of non-humans, red cap's just going to be better because it's a 3-mana 4/3. I think Red Cap Raiders is likely the best of the three general. But again, it kind of depends.
Just because they hit so hard.
Yeah, mini combo with that card, by the way, especially in mono red, Dwarven Mine.
Dwarven Mine.
Turn 3, Red Cap Raiders. Turn 4, you play Dwarven Mine as your 4th land, make a 1/1, and then you tap it to make it.
Oh, that's nice. It makes it just a dwarf.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the land that makes a 1/1 if you play it with 3 other mountains.
We finally found a spot where you were happy with one of these stupid.
Yeah, I hate these lands.
Yeah, it was funny because I'm definitely coming around to your opinion on it. We saw it on camera multiple times today where somebody's like, really needed that 5th land or whatever, and they're like, tap land.
People just put Gingerbread Cabin in their 9-forest deck, like their 9/8 black-green deck, and then it's like, I want to play this Fierce Witch Stalker on turn 4. Wow, I drew this card, and I have 2 swamps and a forest.
And it costs you dearly, too, like especially when people are playing the type of decks like you're saying.
Oh, definitely. So what you're trying to draft here is ideally a deck that has Scorching Dragonfire and Searing Barrage as most of its spells, with Rimrock Knight being its pump spells.
Yeah.
But if you run a little light on removal, Barge In does quite a good job. This is the red +2/+2 to an attacker. It also gives all your non-humans trample, especially Raging Red Cap, which has double strength.
Right.
So you can set up these like Rimrock Knight plus Barge In, turns, which do a lot of damage.
Yeah, we saw on camera today an Oakham Adversary, that's the 2/3 with Death Touch, get barged in twice in the same game. It was like, okay, fine, I'll block, barge in, okay, fine. And then the next turn, they're like, attack. Like, okay, double block. It's like, barge in. It was like, oh my God. Take 4, get a damage, or take 2 or whatever, draw a card, you lose your guys.
So it's very good. And one of the hinge points basically is like, if it looks like you can be mono, basically if you have like a couple payoffs, obviously the rare payoff like Torbrand is just bust, or whatever. But if you have a couple Adamant cards, and maybe like 2 of the hybrids, right? Like you have a Rampart Smasher and a Lock Dragon. And then you end up in a spot where you look like you'll just be a couple cards short. It's usually worth it to be mono. Like the times when you don't want to be mono is if you have a ridiculous, card to splash, right? You're mono green, you have a Garruk. You're just going to play the Garruk, obviously.
Yep.
Right? But if you're mono red and you're looking at like 2 Trapped in the Towers and a Youthful Knight, as your white, in the middle of pack 2, say, you usually want to just be mono red there. It's usually better to do that than try to play like 5 or 6 planes. Oh, to rank the hybrids for white, I like Arcanist Owl the most.
Okay.
Arcanist Owl is very good. Probably followed by Resolute Rider. And then
for Fireborn Knight is the next one.
Yeah, Fireborn Knight.
The Oakham the Oakham
and then the Oakham Rangers are the last. Yeah. If you don't have good hits for the Owl, then Fireborn Knight and Resolute Rider move above it. But
sure.
Assuming you have like 4 or 5 hits, which isn't that hard in most white decks, it can be pretty good. If this card draws a card every other time, it's fine.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's also a 4-mana 3/3 flyer.
Yeah,
like that's just very good. Flyers are very good in this format.
Yeah, they are.
And then for the red hybrid cards, the Rampart Smasher is still the best. This is the one you want the most. Followed by Fireborn Knight, and then Lock Dragon, I think, and then the Headhunter, the red black one, is basically a brick.
Yeah, I have just
this
never.
This is a 2/3 menace. You can pay 3 hybrid red black to sack creature artifact to deal 2 to any target. Just not good.
Yeah, that has just never worked out for me.
No. So I like red, and it pairs. I think red pairs with all the colors. Yeah, red pairs fine with all the colors. That's part of the reason I think red is quite good. It's got 2 really good removal spells. It's got a bunch of good aggressive creatures, and it pairs with all the colors. Yeah. So for that reason, I start with red quite a bit.
I see. So red and green are the cards you really like to start with, and also white, as it turns out.
White, I like drafting.
You said
white,
it's a support color,
but it's more of a support color. So, or not necessarily a support color, but not a mono color. Like Ardenvale Tactician, you still want to play like 8 or 9 planes in your deck to cast a card,
just because it's double white.
But it's hard to actually be mono white, which is kind of weird.
Okay.
So then black. I don't think you can draft mono black almost ever. Mm-hmm. It's just very hard to end up with enough cards.
Yeah.
And black is a very good color at filling in the gaps of what you need, but is not that good as a main color, even though, I mean, it's fine to play like a 8 or 9 or 10 swamp decks, but it's not going to be able to carry by itself. It doesn't, I don't think it just has the right curve of creatures to do that.
Right.
Bacon to a Pie is not only the best black common, it's just the best common.
Right.
Bacon to a Pie is incredible. Reeve Soul also, like these cards are just good in any kind of deck. I think I have Smitten Swordmaster third. Smitten Swordmaster is very good.
What's next?
Probably Forever Young or Foreboding Fruit.
Goodness sakes.
I mean, I like them both.
Yeah, I can see why the curve of black creatures gets a little sketchy.
Yeah, I like them both better than Barrow Witches, and Malevolent Noble is just fine. Mm-hmm. So Lost Legion's just fine. Yeah, like all these cards are very close.
Also, whatever.
Yeah, the Wicked Guardian's just okay. Like basically black's not super deep, even has a couple really, really good cards.
Yeah, it's a better support because of those highlight cards. Yeah.
Yeah. But black also pairs well with any color combination, which is a good place to be. Black red is the one I've liked the least, just because black red knights. I don't know. I feel like it's not quite aggressive enough to get there, but I think it's fine if you get an early Steel Claw Lance, you still want to play it.
Card makes the deck.
But black white knights I like quite a bit. Black green food is solid. Black blue control it can be very good. Covetous Urge is just a hell of a card.
Yes, it really is.
And I guess black.
I saw you draft one on your stream where you had like 2 Covetous Urge, maybe 3.
I drafted a mono blue deck that was. Very
good. Okay, that's what it was then.
Yeah. So when it comes to the black hybrids, Covetous Urge I think is just the best. Like Covetous Urge is extremely good. Mm-hmm. Deathless Knight is not exactly what most of the black decks actually want to do. It's good in black green specifically, but it's not good in like there's just not really a mono black deck, so it becomes a lot weaker. Resolute Rider's great in black white knights, and what's the last one?
Black.
Oh, black red, terrible.
Yeah, the second.
So basically, black basically, because it's not as much of a monocolor, it's just going to be if you're in these color pairs, and they're all good in those color pairs. Whereas it's a lot the hybrids are a lot more relevant, like red and green, because you end up mono those a lot more.
Yeah, getting mono black is proving really difficult. I don't know if you saw one of our feature drafters today, or feature drafts today. We had Eli Cassis, and he opened Rankle and took it, and they got past Ayara.
Okay.
And took that too, and really was trying to get to mono black, and found the same thing, that you could just not quite enough unplayables in it, having going to second.
Part of the problem is mono red and mono green are bolstered by the fact that a lot of the cards you want, no one else wants. No one's taking your Wildwood Trackers and Halberds.
Right.
You know, when you're drafting mono red, you're going to be able to get your late red cap raiders and 7 dwarves and bargains. Mm-hmm. When you're mono black, people are taking all your black commons because they all are a little more general. They're not as cohesive, but they fit into other decks. Like no one's passing you late Bacon to a Pie. Right, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and even Reef Soul tends to go
right. Quickly. So it's just not very likely. So black is a good support color, but it's just hard. Rather, black's a good color when paired with other colors, but it's not a monocolor carrier very often. It's just hard to get enough black cards to do that. And then lastly, blue. I like blue when it's monocolored. I like blue-black control. Do not like blue-green. Do not like red-blue. And let's see. And I really do not like blue-white. So this is why I think blue is pretty bad.
Because it's just not matching.
I think it has one. It has basically one color pair I like. I like blue-black
only and mono blue.
And mono blue. Yeah. So there's one color pair I like plus the mono. I think mono blue is very good.
It is. Yeah.
So. To elaborate a little bit, red-blue is only good if you get the payoffs. And Improbable Alliance is great.
Yes.
Ironcrag Pyromancer is great.
Yes.
Mad Ratter's okay.
Yes. We mentioned this on our archetype. It's just such a huge drop-off from those top 2 down to the next.
Fairy Vandals is good.
Yes.
But still,
But the Wolverine is like very medium.
Basically, when it comes to like the good color pairs, the ones I like, I wouldn't hesitate to like first pick Bacon to a Pie, second pick a white card, third pick a white card, fourth pick a black card, and just feel pretty good about that direction. Yeah. I wouldn't do that with generically good red and blue cards. No. I just wouldn't. Like, if you first pick Scorching Dragonfire, I don't want to second pick a So Tiny. I'll go, because it's just, I'll kind of go out of my way not to do that. It's very different if you have an Improbable Alliance or you start the draft off with a Pyromancer, because then you have a direction.
Yes. But it is weird because Pyromancer's rare. So that's one you can take and feel like it. It's really mostly a blue-red card.
Yeah.
Improbable Alliance is an actual blue-red card. Yes. So you're really not incentivized to take that early either. So it's this weird thing where you're like, well, I might pick those up later. So call it 4th or 5th pick or something. But you kind of need to be drafting that deck to make it work. And you also kind of need at least 2 of those top tier pieces. That is really difficult thing to try to balance out if you don't commit early, which isn't a good idea, to the archetype. It's hard to construct a scenario where you fall into it unless it's just like pounds you on the head obvious, you know, or those cards come very early where you're like, all right, I'll take a Pyromancer. And then the next, it's just like Improbable Alliance in the next pack. You're like, or the next pick. You're like, I'm in, you know, now you can do it, but that just doesn't happen very often.
It really doesn't.
And if you don't get those, your deck is way worse. Like, it's not like, this is a fine blue-red deck. I've never heard that. It's either very good because you got those, or your deck's very medium.
Yeah. So, even though blue-red's the kind of thing I would like to be doing, it sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's just I haven't found it to be effective.
Yeah.
So, the biggest ways to get into mono blue are get a bunch of Merfolk Secret Keepers.
Yep.
That card is very good. Get Covetous Urge or other blue hybrids, because the blue hybrids are very good.
Yeah, you get the Owl, the Urge, like all the ones you love.
Owl, the Turtle,
yeah,
and then the Lock Dragon.
Yeah,
you know, in that
all great.
In that order,
right.
They're all
the
great.
Turtles, whatever. But yeah,
Turtle and Lock Dragon, I think, are clearly behind the other two.
True.
Owl is almost at its best here because blue has so many enchantments, and
insane.
will play a lot of artifacts.
And they're the good stuff. You get your So Tinies and your Charm Sleeps.
So for blue, I actually really like. I think Secret Keeper is the card you want the most, because that's the card that... The difference in the good blue decks and the bad blue decks tends to be how many Secret Keepers you have. But I like So Tiny. I've been on that train just like you. You know, I think So Tiny is a lot better than Charm Sleep. But probably Charm Sleep, then Unexplained Vision. Unexplained Vision is very good. Then Witching Well, and then Moonlit Scavengers. Moonlit Scavengers almost always on in these decks. Not that hard to get that going. I don't like Bantress Paladin. It's funny.
I know, isn't that weird? Even when you're mono blue, it's like shrug.
It's just not what you're trying to do.
Yeah, you always end up with a couple of them in your list, but it is not the focal point by any stretch.
Runaway Together can be good if you have enough Secret Keepers. That's like the combo you're looking for. Didn't Say Please also quite good.
Yes.
You want those pretty highly.
Yep.
And blue, again, it's so funny because the first Unexplained Vision is worth so much, but like the second one's a lot less.
Yes, they drop off quickly.
And blue also is very color intensive. Part of the reason I like it as mono is Charm Sleep and Didn't Say Please are both double blue. So you would really rather have, and Merfolk Secret Keeper even does want you to have a lot of blue mana. So you really would rather just be mono blue, get access to the hybrid cards, and just not have mana issues. It also lets you play Mystic Sanctuary, the land, which has some pretty powerful applications when you pair it with your card draw spells or your bounce spells. Like, you can build a mono blue deck that maybe only has 2 Secret Keepers, but has 2 Runaway Togethers and a Mystic Sanctuary, and all of a sudden you're looking at potentially having 5 triggers from these same 2 Secret Keepers.
For sure.
So, I tend not to try to start blue because it's the least flexible of the colors. So, I think my color rankings are probably like red, green, black, white, blue. Okay. It would be what I'm looking at. But it's all close enough together that there's no color in which I would open a bomb of that color and not take it.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note that like you put black in the middle, but you also view it as a support color, same as white. Yeah. Right, where the first 2 that you picked are colors that you would actually be fine as kind of a baseline color that you could pair other colors with, depending on which direction the draft went.
I guess part of it is because everything's so close together, I value having some flexibility. Yeah. And like something like red that can pair with any color is very good.
Yeah. When we were covering the drafts at the MC this weekend, you could tell the players that were willing to stay open and the ones that weren't. And if you were willing to stay open, you were rewarded. Like, this is a very bread and butter draft format in the sense that, like, it does really reward you for trying to get in your lane. Where, you know, we've had some formats over the last like year and a half that kind of put you in a lane really early, like the gold sets that we had, the 2 gold sets, where they really wasn't like that. And here it is. It really is draft the hard way style format where if you just commit early and get cut, you are screwed. Like, we saw that on camera. Like, people just clinging to their first 2 picks and really getting wrecked as a result.
Oh, totally. You have to be willing to switch pretty aggressively. And look, there's plenty of playables in this format.
Yes.
Unless you're monocolored. If you're monocolored, you might end up short. But the other thing is, you shouldn't be drafting monocolor unless it's open. It's just not going to work.
Right.
So, if you're Ely and you first pick Rankle and second pick Ayara, like, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Rankle's just a bomb card. Just draft black plus whatever and don't try to go mono. Like, I don't think that's where you want to be.
Yeah, because it is actually quite common that you end up scrapping out those last few playables in these monocolored decks. Yeah. And that ends up being really important. If you know you're going to be monocolored, like let's say you're a good chunk of the way through pack 2, you have to ratchet up your discipline a lot. Yeah. You cannot, certainly don't cut cards by all means, which we don't really recommend anyway. But here it's a flagrant foul to cut a card of another color. But beyond that, take that stupid Hengewalker. Take the Jousting Dummy. Yeah, I know you don't like it.
Oh, I played Jousting Dummy in my 3-0 deck today.
Yeah, and so, we saw people fall short, and then it gets awkward because now you're looking at, am I running 5 mountains in my mono black deck? Am I running 6? Right, and I'm going to play like one good card. I got one Scorching Dragonfire somewhere early, and then the rest are just medium anyway. And you'd so much rather just be monocolored at that point. But, if you didn't lock in early and commit to the Jousting Dummy, you may end up having to put a few cards. We saw Brad Nelson draft on camera today, and he had a tough seat, to be fair. But he ended up with 2 Sir Farons and a Yorvo, and played a bunch of red cards and just kind of had to because he didn't, there was a few colorless cards that he passed. Like I said, though, to be fair to him, his seat actually was very, very tough. Like, it was not obvious by any stretch. And he got those cards all in the 3rd pack. He was heavy green at that point. But, there's those type of drafts with a few different picks, like, that he didn't have access to, could have been mono green, and he would have been really happy about it. Like I said, that actually wasn't available to him, however. But you see this pretty commonly where I've got 4 red cards in my monocolor deck. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, and you're basically opening the door to lose to color issues.
Yes.
That monocolor decks don't have.
Right.
And yeah, that can be a pretty big draw.
And usually you're not meaningfully boosting the power of your deck.
Right.
Or at least not enough to justify the consistency hit. So how did your drafts go?
My first draft was a little rough. So I started in my first draft with basically like red and green cards, but I wasn't super happy about it.
Okay. But you like red-green, so
I do like red-green.
Archetype's not bad.
But I kind of waffled between white, red, and green for a little while because basically blue and black did not seem open. Like, they just were not open. So that was abundantly clear. I never really came particularly close to drafting blue.
Ooh, bless you.
But my first couple picks, like basically after like 6 picks, I had or 7 picks, I think I had 2 white cards, 3 green cards, and 2 red cards. I started with Scorching Dragonfire, which is not, below the bar for an average first pick, but it's obviously fine. And then, picked up like a Fierce Witch Stalker, but then it was like picking Rosethorn Acolytes in the middle of the pack, and just like, that's just not really where I want to be. Yeah. And got a Garenbrig Paladin late, and I'm just thinking like, all right, well, going into pack 2, I'm ready to jump ship if I just see something good. This was a kind of a mess pack 1. I got 2 late Garenbrig Squires, which is a card I hate, by the way, but it indicates that green was probably, or at least likely, open. And also the power level of my pack, the packs that I saw were pretty low, but then pack 2 though, I open Edgewall Innkeeper.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, this card's really good. It's just one of the best uncommons. Also, red and green is perfect for it.
And you have a lot of runway here where you can prioritize.
Yeah, and I second picked Rimrock Knight, third picked another Edgewall Innkeeper.
Ooh.
And I'm like, all right, this is going pretty well. And then I still kind of got cut. Didn't see very many adventure cards.
Weird.
And then pack 3 was horrendous. And then later, I just found out that the person to my right was red-white, and then the person to another seat away was it was not red, but it was like black plus something, and then
plus one of your colors.
Yeah. But I didn't really know why the packs were so bad for me. And I saw like a Covetous Urge, 7th pick in one of the packs.
Oh, wow.
And then I saw Lockmere Serpent, the blue-black 7/7, third pick pack 3, which is just a really bad sign, because I couldn't take it, but
of course,
but also it means that none of the people passing me were blue-black, which narrows down the combination. So
is the theory maybe that just not a lot of good blue and black cards were open, so people weren't really
there was only
interested,
one blue-black drafter,
Nassif
actually, who I lost to round 1. When he played that Lockmere Serpent against me on turn 5.
Good one.
Yeah.
5?
Yeah, he had a Midnight Clock, which is also great.
He ramped it out with his other rare?
Yeah.
Must be nice.
So I got smashed round 1. Round 2, I played against the Red White Knights, person passing to me, and just got these Innkeeper draws that just ran him over. And then game 3, I lost to Green White Adventures in a pretty long, close match, 3 games. My second draft went a lot better, partially because I wisely opened Realm Cloak Giant pick 1. Well, you
learned your lesson, did you?
Yeah. So it actually started off kind of messily. I took Realmcloak Giant pick 1.
Okay.
I took, Harvest Fear / Reaper pick 2, and I took Witching Well pick 3.
Okay.
This is not a good start.
Right. You're kind of a few different directions.
It was just
there.
Nothing was in pack 3, but I rounded out the pack with I ended up getting past a couple more black cards and a couple more white cards, just mediocre ones, but playable ones on. Another Reaper, a Youthful Knight, just a Foreboding Fruit, a Forever Young. So
okay, some medium stuff. Sure.
After pack 1, I'm I've got 3 good white cards. Well, 1 really good white card, a Youthful Knight, and 2 Youthful Knights, which isn't the biggest signals, but and a bunch of black cards. But Realmcloak Giant's busted, and it's especially busted in black-white because you can use Forever Young to get it back if it dies.
God.
And then it's just gross.
You can crow your wrath back from the graveyard.
Yes.
That's just gross.
So I'm all right, I'm feeling pretty good about black-white, and I'm sure black is open, but even if white's not open, I don't mind. I opened Worthy Knight in pack 2, the rare knight for 2 that makes humans.
Nice.
And picked up a Bell the Brawl and an Archon of Absolution and a Bacon the Pie, and I'm all right, this is just going great.
Business.
And then pack 3, I opened Rankle. So this wasn't the draft started out messily, which is fine, but it was pretty smooth sailing after that. It was clear both my colors were open. I got a Revenge of the Ravens. I just ended up with a great deck.
Wow.
And I managed to 3-0 this one.
Nice job.
Yeah. The Revenge of the Ravens was awesome. So I had kind of the perfect revenge deck where I had Revenge of the Ravens plus Archon of Absolution plus Realmcloak Giant, and the squeeze of those 3 cards is really hard to beat.
Yes.
They all buy you time. They punish your opponent for overextending.
And force them to overextend.
But also force them to overextend.
That's absurd.
Yeah, and then I played against Mono White in the finals and had a really good matchup.
Oh, sure. You mentioned the Archon. You didn't actually have it.
I didn't draw the Archon, but if I had, also wouldn't have been able to beat that. Right. But I had a really hard time beating Revenge and Giant and Rankle and just didn't. So.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, well, that's great. I did want to talk about one more thing before we take off, though. And honestly, we still don't know a whole lot about it. They haven't really kind of said everything, but we've seen these around. These are these mystery boosters that were floating around. And I saw them. I got to open up one of them. I got to watch some people do kind of a little mini sealed thing. And then I had a bunch of people show me draft decks from the Magic Fest going on across the hall from where we have the Mythic Championship. So these are kind of cool. Look, there was all this weird kind of marketing-y stuff, they're mystery and, all this. It just seems like a reprint set, right? That's made for limited, for us to draft or do sealeds with. And then they also, at least as I understand it, the ones in the conventions, if you go to a Magic Fest, they have this extra card in it that's like a playtest card. It looks actually like the playtest cards that they use in R&D, where they take a random common and they print out on a sticker, just a black and white version of what the card does at that time, and they just stick it over the front of a Magic card so you can shuffle it and hold it and read it and stuff. And then they have funny pencil drawn artwork on them, and it's a bunch of goofy, funny, not quite unset cards, but pushing in that direction.
Pretty close, though.
Yeah. They still vaguely have Magic rules attached to them, but they play. You're allowed to play them. But apparently they won't be in the ones that you can buy or something. At least that's the rumor. Again, I don't actually know like, people always think that you and I know all this stuff, and it's like, they don't tell me anything.
I didn't know it was in the mystery boosters until they got opened and spoiled on Twitter.
Yeah, it was the same thing with me. But I actually was kind of stoked on it for a few reasons. One, this set is made for limited.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even legal and constructed. I mean, the cards are if they're legal in the format, but that's not the point. It's made for us to draft, basically. And two, it's kind of cool. It's a full reprint set, and some of the decks that people showed me were really sweet. Like, not, hey, look, I have a 2/2 into a 3/3, like, boring stuff. I mean, this was like absurd. Brock showed me a blue-red spells deck that was just like, wow, with some old cards, some new cards, some more recent cards. And, I don't know, I'm kind of stoked for it. Like, it looks like a really fun thing to draft.
Yeah, it looks very sweet.
Yeah. I don't know why they made it.
Yeah, I got to open a couple packs, and it was pretty wild looking through and thinking of like what I would be first picking and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know exactly why they made it either, except for that it's sweet.
Yeah, I don't really care. I'm just glad. But
I actually like it because so many of the ancillary products these days feel like a lot of them are very cool, but they're cosmetics. Essentially, yes. They're like, hey, do you want a cooler version of your card?
Right.
And that's great.
Because a lot of people say, yes, I do.
but a lot of people buy those just based on the EV of the product.
Yes.
Like, oh, does this Mythic Edition have enough, juice in it? Does the Master Set have enough Chase Rares? Is the EV good? This is just a purely whimsical, fun product.
Yes.
And that's cool.
That is awesome. And it's for us.
Yeah. I don't know why they made it, but I kind of don't care. It seems sweet to me.
Yeah. Because, there's a lot of Brawl and Commander products and all these supplemental things that are, not aimed at you and I specifically. Yeah. But this one I actually think is. It's just, I wanted to bring it up mainly because it has all this pomp and circumstance or a mystery and what's in it and what's going on. But you strip all of that away and they just made a supplemental product that is meant to be drafted that looks really fun. So I'm in. I am going to do one of these the first chance that I get. I don't know how these are going to be available. So I'm going to go to GP Portland next month. Yeah. And I think I'm going to go down a little early and try to do some of these before work starts and, see if I can get into a few of them. And then if they are available, for sale, I'll probably get some and try to draft with people at home.
Yeah, they look sweet.
But anyway, they look cool. So we'll learn more about those. And if we decide we may even go, a little bit deeper.
I think we are going to do a card by card review of it.
No, we're not.
It's only 1,600 cards.
And what we could do is we could pick a few of the funny cards to go over because they really are.
Have you seen
funny.
Form of the Mole Drifter?
Yes. In fact, somebody sent it to me. They said this is the martialist card in the set. I said it kind of has to be, but that is awesome.
4 to blue enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 2 cards, and then all your creatures are Mole Drifters, which means that you can all cast or evoke them, and they draw 2 cards and they come into play and they're 2/2s, and they're flying because they're Mole Drifters.
Because they're Mole Drifters, which is great. The card I opened. It's an artifact that you draw cards off the bottom of your library rather than the top. In fact, I think I have it right
Lantern
here.
of Undersight.
Undersight? Is that what it was called? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It doesn't have any other abilities, but yeah, you draw, and it just makes you think like, well, what are ways I could break this or, whatever. So it's just kind of fun, in that way. And there's one that was kind of interesting. It's 1 and a white. And it turns any of your creatures that you have, like a creature you control, into your commander. And that way, if it dies, you can
replay
pay the tax. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I get it. The one question I did have that I didn't get answered is, can you still cast spells that aren't that thing now or aren't that color now?
Oh, weird.
And I was told, yes, you can still just cast your spells, but I'm like, well, it's my commander,
that kind of doesn't make sense.
Come on, give it, make me commit a little bit. Oh, and then one other quick story from the PT or from the MC. We were talking. Paul and I were chatting with Mike Segrist and just taking a look at his list. And he's like, "Yeah, my deck's pretty good, whatever." He's like, "But you guys should look at that guy's deck." And the guy across from him, I didn't ever catch his name, but he was from Germany. I could tell from his accent, but. He just had 4 cards laid out along the top. Now, this is his Mythic Championship Day 2 draft deck. And the 4 cards were Oko, Scions, Embercleave, Questing Beast. So somebody passed him one of those, just for the record.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Whoa, buddy! Like, that's how you do it. So anyway, I don't know how many of them he was able to shoehorn into one deck, but for our sake, I hope it was all of them. Okay, well, let's call that good here, Luis, because I got to go to bed, and so do you. You got a plane to catch in the morning, and I got to get up and go to work. Thanks for sharing that. And again, man, we're pulling for you. Hopefully, things turn around, or we get a little bit more clarity on next year how things can pan out, and we can slot you in somewhere. But I know it was a rough day for you today, but I'm glad you were able to come in and share your thoughts on the format and what you learned from
yeah, I mean, I do like this draft format. Like, it was fun to draft.
Yeah, it is good, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's good.
It's good, too. Very flat, very even, which is makes for interesting discussions. If you want to find us on social media, my name is Marshall_LR on everything, and Luis is LSV, also on everything. You can find more about the show, links to all the stuff wherever you can get it, and all of that at lrcast.com. Also want to thank our sponsor, channelfireball.com. Again, if you want to sell your cards back to them, you can go on channelfireball.com/buylist. You'll get a 30% trade-in bonus for anything that you want to sell, but get store credit for rather than actual cash. But if you want, you can also just get that too. So 30% on that, channelfireball.com/buylist. Turn that pile of rares into some money or some more cards, whatever one you happen to need more. That's going to do it for the show this week. We'll be back next week, though. We'll see you then.
So I have a great Shahar story from this weekend.
Oh.
Well, technically it's from last week. So our testing team decided to meet about a week early. Mm-hmm. And given that there was going to be something like 12-ish, 14-ish people wanting to meet, they looked, and Seth Manfield found an Airbnb about 70 minutes out of Richmond.
Oh, wow. Pretty far.
This house by some lake that was kind of off season, so it was pretty cheap and could house a lot of people. The houses out there are pretty big. Mm-hmm. But this is like kind of in the middle of like rural Virginia. Like, it is not.
It sounds like it's out there.
It's not close to Richmond. Mm-hmm. So the way it transpired is Shahar was going to be the first one there. Mm-hmm. So he gets on his flight from Las Vegas, has his layover, gets to Virginia. Gets an Uber, puts in the address. The Uber driver drops him off. At this point, it's like dark. It's evening, pitch black. There's not much cell reception. It's pretty bad reception. And Shahar's phone's running out of battery. So he goes and he tries to get into the house with the key code, mm-hmm. but it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, oh, man, maybe I wrote down the code wrong. Maybe Seth gave me the wrong code, whatever. Mm-hmm. So he finds a window that's ajar and he climbs in.
He just went into the window.
Yeah, because, the key code wasn't working.
He did what he had to do.
He didn't have any battery. He couldn't really get good cell reception. So the house is pitch black. It doesn't have any power on. So Shahar manages to go to the basement and flip the breaker switch and turn the lights on.
Okay.
And so then he's like, all right.
By the way, this sounds like the start to a horror movie, right? Well, there's something wrong with the house movie or whatever. Okay.
But Shahar's resourceceful. He gets there.
Okay.
And so then, he has a snack. He finds some food there and he goes to sleep. Right. Okay. Because the other guys weren't getting there till midnight and their flight got delayed.
Okay.
So around 2 a.m., some of the other guys get there. Mm-hmm. They're calling Shahar. They're like, hey, the house is locked. Can you come out and open it? Mm-hmm. They see someone in the distance walking out in front of a house with their flashlight or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, we must be at the wrong house.
Oh my God.
They tromp through the woods. There's like half an acre in between each house or whatever. They get over there. Shahar's there. And then they look and they're like, this doesn't look like the Airbnb that we rented. And someone pulls up their phone and looks at the pictures. They're like, Shahar, this isn't the Airbnb.
Oh my God, he went into the wrong house? He was squatting?
The one we were staying at was where we got dropped off, right there in the distance. And Shahar's like, oh crap. And there's like security cameras or whatever. But so Shahar Shahar just Goldilocks these people. He was the flaxen intruder.
Oh my God. He went in and had some food and everything?
So Shahar calls Huey, of course, because Huey's not there yet,
and he's the adult.
Okay, he was the adult, and he's like, hey Huey, what should I do? And Huey's like, all right, go leave the house right now.
Yeah,
go to the house you rented.
Right.
And then
the one you paid for.
And then call the police and just tell them what happened, exactly what happened. So Shahar does that, calls the police, tells them he was Goldilocks, tells them he it's like, look, I kind of broke into a house. And to be fair to Shahar, both houses were Airbnb rentals.
Yeah, it had a keypad. Which isn't normal.
It had laminated guest instructions.
Yeah.
Like, very, understandable mistake.
Yes.
And I actually ended up going out to this testing house, right? Like, date, like a week after these guys did, but before the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
And these houses were pretty big and the address was like right by the front, but it was kind of ambiguous. Like my Uber driver almost brought me to the wrong place too. We had to back up and turn around. So, especially when it's dark and there's no reception, I can definitely see it. And, props to Shahar for being able to like get into the house and turn on the breaker switch.
He figured out how to turn on the lights in the dark and like with a dying phone. Like,
yeah, so that's very resourceful. I like that. But
wow.
But anyways, the police are like, all right, they took down his information. They're like, look, it's totally fine. If the homeowners call and say, hey, we think someone broke into our house, we'll tell them like, hey, look, this happened. But I kind of feel like if you rent your house out to Airbnb or like you use your house for Airbnb, like this is kind of within the range of things that can happen.
No, totally. I think so too.
And there's no harm done except for to like a packet of Lay's or whatever.
I was gonna say they'll never get the peanut and peanuts and crackers back again.
Yeah, but
that is still just a very sharp.
It was just straight up Goldilocks. Like and this snack and this bed are just right.
Yeah, and one other thing we should mention: didn't Ben miss his round again?
Oh my God! Yes, Ben literally forgot his deck in his hotel room and couldn't go back in time to get it and come back, and so he missed a round.
He got a loss.
He got a match loss. Yeah,
at the PT.
All right, and just to wrap things up for the PT weekend, Pat Cox, I stayed with him this weekend. He's on our team, good friend of mine. He drafted this really good green-white deck.
This is so funny.
And he goes to Ben and shows them, and Ben's like, you claim you're great at draft, but your decks are always really good. And Pat's like...
and Pat's looking at him like...
what does that mean? And Ben's like, clearly you got past so many good cards. So that doesn't indicate that you're good at draft, just that you got past good cards. Pat's like, so I drafted a good deck, and you're using that as evidence as to why I'm not good at drafting. So if I drafted a bad deck, would I also be bad at drafting? And then Ben's like, no, I guess I'd have to see your sideboard to see how many picks you abandoned to switch into the right colors. And Pat's like, Ben, you're unreal.
Yeah.